Hey everyone, so in today's video, we are talking about Best of Beauty for 2022. I'm focusing on my absolute most used products. So though this is not everything that I absolutely loved in 2022, definitely the most used, I'm talking about beautifully consistent makeup. And that is truly my number one must-have when I'm talking about Best of Beauty. These are consistent products that no matter what, I always know the result. And I think that that is such an underrated aspect of makeup that people don't talk about enough, is that if there is a product that you like it on some days, but other days it does not work with you, for me, that is out. That is not best. The stable performance of a product is what I'm looking for. Before we jump into my recommendations, I have two things to talk about. Number one, there will be a makeup change up and a costume change, let's say about 10 minutes into the video, because I unfortunately already filmed this entire video and an entire clip of the beginning of the video got deleted. Not to mention the $150 I paid to try and recover that file. It clearly worked. If you are wondering, yeah, that is why. It also does afford me the opportunity to mention a couple things that I missed in that first video. So if you see me like this, and you're confused, well, I hope that clears that up. And next, before we jump in, and please feel free to get to recommendations if you'd like, but I wanted to specifically talk about this video and why it means so much to me. This to me really is a culmination of an entire year of reviews, an entire year of work, testing and trying. I also will be including demos of, I think, every single product that I'm talking about today. And I wanted to say that if you appreciate these longer form videos, all of the demos, obviously these videos take a little bit longer. They are very different than the kind of content that YouTube is pushing out. I just wanted to say that if you do appreciate this content going into 2023, giving this video a thumbs up does help to support this kind of content on my channel. You can also use any of the affiliate links down below because I make a small commission on them. So if you want to help to support this kind of content specifically on my channel, it really does help me out. And I also wanted to thank you guys for still supporting this kind of content because we know the algorithm doesn't always. And overall, thank you guys for being here. I really, really appreciate it. So shall we jump into primers? This primer from Merit, the Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. It's been in and out of stock. I didn't realize how many people were really, really into this stuff, but I'm definitely one of them. This has essentially become my go-to glowy base product. Whenever my skin is looking sallow, whenever I feel like the hydration, it's just not there, this always delivers. And not only does it deliver a glow, it delivers a really realistic glow because, you know, there's no mica, there is no pigment to this. It's just a bi-phase serum. Incredibly lightweight while also, again, giving a nice dewy effect to the skin. I think that this has pretty much replaced the Glossier Future Dew for me. I used to absolutely love that product, but this is so much thinner on the skin and it gives me pretty much the same effect. Definitely taken down a notch. It's not as glowy as Future Dew is. I think that's good because this is going to work for more people, and also it does have skincare benefits, so I always feel extra good about applying it as a priming product. I will continue to repurchase this. I think it's one of Merit's best launches, period. And I'm just really excited to see what they come out with next. I definitely have a few Merit products to talk about, but as far as their new launches for this year, this was definitely my favorite. Have to give a shout out to the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. Of course, you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I wanted to reiterate why I think that this is so beautiful and some aspects about it that I think people don't talk about enough, like why is this pretty? I mean, everyone knows, oh my gosh, it makes your makeup go on so beautifully. That is true. This gives you a beautiful, buttery base for your makeup every single time. But I think that there is another aspect about this product that no one talks about, which is the balance between this being a super moisturizing and nourishing product and it's also having a really subtle smoothing effect. And it's not something that you notice right away when you apply it. Highly suggest if you do have the face base, apply it to one half of your face and not the other, and you'll start to notice it. I mean, whenever I would apply this, even without makeup on top, I'm like, wow, my skin just looks better. And I can't figure out why. Well, it's because of that very subtle blur and the overall hydration of the product. It ends up being a really beautiful balance. You don't need a lot of this either. I know it's expensive, but I still do think it's one of those cult favorite products that delivers something very stable, very beautiful, and it really sets your makeup up for success. This is definitely one of those kinds of products. So I continue to recommend it on my channel for those reasons. And my last favorite primer is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. This is not my shade. I need to pick up the lightest shade, but I've just been using this to mix into foundation. I also use it all over and then put foundation on top. I don't think I used this as much as the Bobbi Brown or the Merit, but I gotta tell you that if you are someone that is like, Amanda, I want just a glowy primer. I want my skin to look a little bit more even. I want that soft focus effect. I want just in general a more glowy appearance. This just delivers and checks every single box for that. I have done an entire video comparing this to the Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury. As a priming product and mix-in product specifically, I do think that this performs better. As a on top highlight, this is going to be a little bit more natural, and it's also a touch thicker. So I do think that in theory, the Charlotte Tilbury as like a natural liquid highlight might be a better option if that's how you plan on using it. But if you do plan on using this all over the face to mix in with foundation, I prefer the way that this looks on the skin. Again, it is beautifully hydrating. It just offers this really pretty glow. And I think that especially for those of you that want something with a touch of a tint, this is a really, really beautiful product. I also realized I have a lot of e.l.f. products that I'm mentioning today. e.l.f. had a really great year. I'm really excited to see what they do next year in terms of launches. Now let's get into foundation. My first foundation that I absolutely loved this year, it was one of the first launches of 2022, and what a way to freaking start out the year. The Kosas Revealer Foundation. I feel like the Kosas Revealer Foundation is a really great example of the evolution that Kosas has taken, starting with like, you know, their tinted face oil to go from that formula, which wasn't super cosmetically elegant, if I'm being honest, and then going to this. I just love to see the development. This foundation feels super innovative to me because it feels like the perfect bridge between skin tint makeup, more light coverage makeup, and a foundation that performs, that smooths the skin, that gives you coverage while feeling more like a skin tint. And of course, you know, categorically, skin tint foundation, really these things can be whatever we want them to be. But what I look for specifically in a base product is the performance. And this always gives my skin an overall illuminated glow. It never looks like makeup, and it lasts on my skin, which is just not something I was expecting from this foundation. I feel good putting it on, like my skin likes it, which is definitely something that is important when you're looking for a product that you're going to be using every day. How it just generally gets along with your skin. I never find that it gets crackly on my skin. If I have pimples, it glides right on top of them. It doesn't exaggerate texture. This is not one of those foundations with a ton of silicones, yet it performs the same way a lot of those foundations do. As far as a general recommendation for those of you with dry to normal skin, if you haven't tried this foundation, I still highly recommend it. It's freaking beautiful. And it also does have SPF 25, but it's a mineral sunscreen. So if you do have issues with chemical sunscreens potentially breaking you out, this does not have chemical filters, so that's another plus. bravo. I mean, you guys already know how much I love the Kosas Revealer Concealer. I didn't think that this was ever going to be able to live up to how much I love that product, but it definitely has. And it really proved itself consistently over the entire year. Now, next foundation, have loved this for years. I still think that it is one of the absolute best base products on the market, the Shiseido Radiant Lifting Foundation. I also absolutely still love the original Synchro Skin Foundation. If you have normal to combination skin, I know even some of my friends with oily skin really love that foundation. Particularly, I'm going to talk about the Radiant Lifting because it is my favorite. This takes long wear makeup to the next level. Again, I'm looking for innovation here, and this truly performs like an innovative base product. It is so incredibly thin, and as you continue to wear it, it truly does have this self-refreshing quality to it, which means that even when you would think that your skin would start to look dry, things would start to settle into lines, it just slowly starts to wear into itself incredibly beautifully. Not every product has that technology behind it. Plenty of brands, I feel like they're coming out with skin tints. They just, slap skin tint on it. They just slap whatever buzzword on top of the product, but they're not really offering us any innovation when it comes to the formula. This is freaking special, guys. And I absolutely love it. Again, my pores look so much smaller, very blurred. It's really a relatively lightweight foundation too. It's quite thin. It lasts beautifully, and it's just one of those foundations that you're going to feel radiant. You're going to feel like your skin is just like singing. Every time I wear it, no matter what shape my skin is in, if I need something to blend perfectly, easily, get a nice medium coverage that does not look like medium coverage, I'm going to this and I'm happy about it every time. An affordable favorite that I found this year in the efforts to find a dupe for the CYO Long Lasting Life Proof, I found the No. 7 Restore and Renew Serum Foundation. Still, you guys, this is a little bit lighter coverage than the last two that I've talked about, but as an everyday foundation, absolutely stunning, beautiful light coverage, has a lot of the same qualities as the Shiseido Radiant Lifting Foundation, that very soft, smooth effect. It is a little bit more on the liquidy thin side, just melts over the skin so beautifully. I found that as I wore the CYO on one side and then wore the Restore and Renew on the other, consistently, I liked the No. 7 more. I've been telling you guys about this foundation for a while. I don't know if it's going to be around for a while because it is on sale and has been consistently on sale online. So if this seems like something that you would want, I would say, go out and get it while you can, because I'm not sure how much longer it's going to be in stock, which is really a shame because I can't think off the top of my head of a better affordable foundation product. Like, I can't. And lastly, I don't know where it is, but I had to give it a mention, the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Another absolutely beautiful foundation. I think that one is also really nice for combination skin. I know that foundation gets along with a lot more skin types than something like the Kosas, which, by the way, I will say that the Kosas is really nice if you have compromised skin. If you have very, very dry skin, if you're dealing with dry patches in general, you might be sick and you still have to look presentable. I feel like it kind of takes care of my skin, but that's just more of a side note. The NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, that one is really good for long wear. I love the finish of it. I do think it's going to be great for a variety of skin types. It's definitely on the thinner side, and I do feel like it has a little bit more of a setting kind of quality that I think a lot of you will appreciate. Nice to build coverage as well. It is a very, very good one. I highly, highly recommend. Now for concealer, if you're someone that watches my channel a lot, you already know about the Kosas Revealer Concealer. We're gonna talk about this, but I actually have two others that I've been using a lot this year, which might surprise you, but we'll get there. So the Kosas Revealer Concealer, As far as a concealer for my dry, dark, deep set eyes, I can't imagine a better concealer, really, period. It gives me beautiful medium coverage. It looks hydrated. It never looks crepey or heavy. It also does a really good job of minimizing that hollow look under my eyes that a lot of concealers can exaggerate. And something else that I really look for in a concealer is to actually make the hollows look less prevalent. And hollowness and darkness are not the same thing. I would love to continue to do videos on that because I think a lot of you guys do appreciate it. Let me know if you have any video ideas down below. Not all concealers can conceal a hollow, and this is one of the only concealers that doesn't exaggerate it, and I do feel like actually helps make the hollowness under my eyes look less noticeable. It gives them almost kind of a filled in look. I don't even know how many of these I've bought, but it's a lot. I'm really liking seeing Kosas's evolution, you know, going from their like face tinted oil to these really innovative formulas. It just makes me very excited. I love to see brands creating something different. And when I say I love it, I mean I genuinely love it. And I think that that transfers through the product. You can tell that they are excited too. And that's always a really nice feeling. Another concealer that I love, not only for under the eyes, but also all over the face, is the Armani Luminous Silk Concealer. Now, this is such a beautiful 5-minute makeup product. What I'll do is put this all over my face and then add it under my eyes, and I just feel like I get an overall really fresh look to my skin. My under eyes look really smooth and natural, and it just has that classic like Armani silky finish. And to me, it feels very photo, but I'm not trying ready. You know, like photo ready meets 5-minute makeup, and I always appreciate this concealer for that. I actually really like this for under the eyes, and I consistently recommend it to you all. It is a lighter coverage than the Kosas. 1.5 is a great shade for me, by the way. And lastly, the Saie Hydra Beam Concealer. Also a little bit lighter coverage than the Kosas, but a very similar formula to the Kosas. So if you didn't want to try the Kosas, if you have a gift card to Saie, whatever the case may be, I also really love this one. Definitely my favorite launch from Saie last year. Just really fresh, hydrated makeup. Will never make the under eye dryness look more exaggerated. It's just kind of that product that no matter where your skin is at, it's gonna have your back. And I love those makeup products. Now, shall we jump into some face products? First, starting off with bronzer, Beautiful Skin Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer from Charlotte Tilbury is absolutely incredible. Formula is what I love in a cream bronzer because it is creamy but blendable and it sticks where you put it. I could rant about this for a long time. I'm not going to. I'm very tired of makeup brands creating products that do not want to stick to the skin, whether they're too balmy and just kind of sheer out into nothing, or too slippy, silicone-y that they just slip around and don't want to stick where you place them. Charlotte Tilbury has really nailed it with this formula because it is both blendable, but it also has this adherence to the skin that makes for a long wear product, but it also makes for a superior blend. I think that the adherence quality of makeup is so overlooked. I don't think that a lot of people talk about it, but it's something that I really am cognizant of. I think it's often mistaken too for like a product not having enough pigment, when really the product has pigment, but the brand has put so many like silicones in it that the product just has nowhere to go. If you guys are familiar with the Milk Makeup matte bronzer, to me this is an elevated version of that formula. I also really like that there are a bunch of different shades in this. I love the huge mirror, even pigmentation. It's the bronzer that I'm wearing today. I actually did set it with a powder bronzer I'm going to talk about. The shade is absolutely stunning as well. I highly Highly, highly, highly recommend it. And the other bronzer that I wanted to mention is the L'Oreal 24/7 Fresh Wear Bronzer. I believe this was also a new launch this year, don't quote me, but nevertheless, this is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful product. It's very soft, it's buildable, it's not choppy, it's not heavy looking on the skin either. Something that I really don't like about powder bronzers is kind of that thick, powdery look that some of them can give. And also I feel like a lot of brands feel the need with like, in the attempt to make them more luxurious, like adding so much pigment. And I really like that L'Oreal took the route that I would like to see more brands do, which is give us more shades, but kind of cut back on the pigment a touch. I mean, don't get me wrong, this isn't like a super, super sheer bronzer. It doesn't fall into that kind of category where you add your brush and then you put it on the cheek and it's like, holy crap. Very soft on the skin, never drying or chalky. The shade Fair is also really beautiful for fair skin. I'm more fair neutral, just as like a heads up. And then we have the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Powder Bronzer in the shade Light. It's absolutely stunning. It is one of Makeup by Mario's best powder products. I love that it is a very densely pressed powder bronzer, so you're not going to be picking up too much product, but it still goes onto the skin in this really elegant way. It's a really beautiful product for adding shape to the face, and it's a powder that's not going to look really powdery or heavy on the skin. It's not going to kind of create that layer of powder that can sometimes be a little bit distracting. It's one of those products that if I feel like I'm like, I just can't figure out what's going on with my makeup, I will take it, apply it all over the face, and I'm like, oh, it just makes the makeup better every time. Now, getting into blush, speaking of Makeup by Mario, this was another favorite that I know I had to have mentioned last year too. It is Creamy Peach from the Soft Pop Powder Blush formula from Makeup by Mario. I don't know what it is about it. It is just that perfect creamy peach look on the skin while also being a powder. You know, sometimes I don't want to fuss with a cream blush. I know that's jarring the air out of my mouth. It has a very, very soft and subtle sheen to it as well that just makes the cheeks pop. I think it's one of the best peachy blushes that I've ever used. Like, I really, really highly recommend it for those of you that love a peach blush. I find for like my hair color, my skin tone, peaches are often very flattering for me. I have other peach blushes and it's just really hard to reach for them when I know that I have this because it's just so beautiful. One of the best out there. Another favorite that is so affordable, and I don't know what else to say. I feel like I haven't heard a single other person talk about them, but I love them. They're from Half Caked and they're the NSYNC liquid blushes. Some of the best liquid blushes on the market, period. Brown Sugar is what is on my cheeks today. Absolutely stunning color. They're kind of like a gel liquid blush. They stick to the skin really prettily. They have good pigmentation, but it's not like overwhelmingly pigmented. Super easy to blend, and they almost have this touch of blur to them. One of the first times I tried them out, my makeup day was just not going well. So this was a new product to me. I hadn't tried them and I was like, you know what the heck? I'm gonna put these on, like maybe I'll wash my makeup off and redo them. It was just one of those days. I put this on and I was like, what? It smoothed out all the unevenness from like the choppy bronzer I had. I felt like my skin before looked very textured, and then all of a sudden I put it on and everything like smoothed out. There was beautiful color. I didn't have to redo my makeup. It just is so fresh and pretty on the skin. So many different colors to choose from. As far as affordable cream blushes go, when I think of the best, I'm thinking of these. And also, you guys should know, affordable or not, like I just look for high performance products. These just happen to be affordable and I love that as well, because who doesn't like to save money? Very similar to that formula are the Saie Dew blushes. I wanted to talk about Spicy very quickly. It is quite similar to Brown Sugar from the NSYNC. This is just really easy. I find that when I just don't know what cream blush to wear, a blush bronzer kind of sunburn cheek is gonna go with like a lot of different eye looks, lip looks. And so I always go back to this. It's kind of like my safety net. And I think that safety net makeup is really important to have. Products that you just know are always going to look good. And this was definitely that product for me this year. And lastly, any of the Benetint cheek tints. I have almost all of them. I really want to pick up Floratint. Actually, I feel like Floratint is the only one I don't have, which is kind of crazy. But Cha Cha tint in the summer is kind of like the blush for me. Great for the lips and the cheeks in general. I think that cheek tints and cheek stains are definitely going to be coming back and making their rounds again. And I'm definitely here for it because I just find that these last really well on the cheeks. And they're also super thin, which is to me like a really perfect balance. Hi again. This is take two, Amanda. Somehow, I managed to forget to talk about the Kjaer Weis cream blushes in my first take of this video, so here we are. We're ready to talk about them. I actually have the shade Desired Glow on my face today. I added a touch of the Coral Dior Rosy Glow blush, but in the shade Coral. That combination, guys. Ugh. To die for. But every time I try a new shade of the Kjaer Weis blushes, I'm like, yep, I remember why I love them so much. I think the reason I love them is that it's just that no makeup easy blush in shades that are very unique. They have such a soft quality to them, but they're not really creamy. They have a little bit of resistance to them, which I find once they go onto the skin really helps them just very gently set on the skin. They're fresh, they're easy to blend. They're just one of those really easy makeup products. And when you're dealing with cream makeup, you want it to be easy. And I look for shades that are a little bit out of the ordinary, shades that I think are really unique, and they always have them. Inner Glow has consistently been my blush contour that I like to use. It has this little bit of taupe, so if you're not like a contour person, it's gonna give you a little bit of shape, a little bit of contour without, again, it looking like it. It's perfect. It's definitely my most used shade other than Blossoming. But Desire Glow is coming for both of them for sure this year. And I will say I also picked up the shade recently, Abundance. You want a shade similar to Inner Glow, but you do have deeper skin than me. This is probably going to be a better option for you because it just has more depth. You guys certainly know how much I love them already, but for some reason I forgot to mention them. Lastly, for powder, the Givenchy Prism Libre Rose Powder. With a very light hand, this powder is absolutely stunning. I will say that the e.l.f. Halo Glow powder is also a very close second. I really want to put those more to the test, like head to head. I'm definitely going to keep doing that and I'll keep you guys updated. But this like flattens out my under eyes so crazily. It's not a very heavy, cakey looking powder. It's definitely one of the best out there. But I am like kind of interested, you know, in like next year thinking about what powder I'm going to be using to set my face. Like I'm going to be intentional in testing that one out more. But I know 100% that this is like the one that I've been recommending kind of nonstop all year. So if you have very dry skin and you're looking for a powder that you know is going to work well, this one I definitely recommend. All right, let's get into eyeshadow. This is gonna take a second. And by the way, this isn't like all of the eyeshadows that I absolutely loved this year. It's a lot of them, but I plan on doing an updated my favorite one and done eyeshadow video, which I have not done that in a while. So I know that it is due time, so that's definitely coming. But let's just talk about like the products and staples. Number one, Natasha Denona Glam Palette. The best palette pickup that I picked up this year. Definitely not a new launch, but the mattes in here are absolutely beautiful. I know that they will always blend beautifully. It is such a perfect everyday palette, but it also really works well for those more smoky moments, for those dramatic moments. When you pay a little bit extra for a high quality shadow, a palette like this is just a very beautiful way to get your money's worth. And I find myself always reaching for this when I want a very elegant kind of smoky liner kind of look. And that's really like my typical, you know, if I'm not doing like a one and done shadow, I'm going for this palette, sometimes just with the mattes and like doing an all matte look. But the shimmers in here are really beautiful as well. I actually dropped the palette and this one's like kind of coming out. So if you guys know how to make that not happen, let me know. But yeah, it is an absolutely stunning palette. One I definitely used a lot this year. So I actually have 3 different eyeshadows on my eyes right now. So let's get into those. The About Face Fluid Eye Paint, the matte in the shade Smell Before Rain. This is my perfect eye base product. You guys are always asking about eyeshadow primers. I have to recommend this or really any of the shades from the About Face line. I also have a little bit more of an affordable option I'll talk about in a second. But honestly, I think About Face is pretty affordable and the quality is absolutely excellent. So this shade is a really perfect, like kind of slightly olive neutral, like beige, a little touch of gray, a little touch of olive, but overall like a beige kind of neutral base, and it makes all of the shadows last longer. That is my main tip for you guys. If you want a long wear cream eyeshadow look, it's to use a liquid shadow all over, or at least in the crease specifically where you know, will crease, and it just makes everything last longer. Keeps everything in check. Makeup wants to stick to this as well. It's a very spreadable liquid formula that is easy to work with. I really love it. It doesn't go crackly or weird on the eyes either. I mean, a lot of them do. It's absolutely beautiful. So I do have that all over the eye as a base. Next, one of my favorite shadow finds, product that a lot of you guys have loved since I talked about it, is Beige Mitza from Dior. It's so beautiful. Just a very pretty taupey bronze shade. It's gonna go well with really any look. It's that perfect mix of bronze with that little bit of cool toned shift to it. It's just a really nice basic one and done shadow that I think will get a lot of use. And when I go ahead and recommend more luxurious one and dones, that's what I'm looking for, something that's going to get a lot of use in my collection and something to me that's going to feel really easy to apply. And this is a really easy, creamy product. No matter the day, if I'm in a rush, I take this, I put it all over the eyes, and it's just that effortless, bronzy one and done. And it has been a product that I go back to consistently all year. And I love that you guys have loved it as much as I have. I also did use Charlotte Tilbury Oyster Pearl quite a bit. You guys already know how much I love this. I've loved it for years, but I also really have enjoyed Exaggerize from Charlotte Tilbury. This to me is like a little bit more of a wet finish as opposed to the more metallic finish of Oyster Pearl. Now, Oyster Pearl does have a really nice creamy look on the eyes. In general, the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize formula makes it really easy to get that really creamy, fresh look on the eyelids, but I really like that she went with a different kind of finish to these. It has a little bit more of a wet shimmer to them as opposed to the more, again, metallic finish that she typically goes for. That's achieved by adding this very, very fine glitter that sits more closely on the skin. Absolutely love what she did with this one. Super beautiful. You could take the About Face into the crease, add this all over the lids, and you just have a really pretty glossy looking cream shadow. It's just gonna look good every time. But I forgot to say the last shadow that is on my eyes. Right on top of Beige Mitza, I added one of my favorite Sephora collection eyeshadows. Now, I found these last year, but I was able to find a new absolute favorite shade. These 2 shades are my favorite. The first one is Choco Excess, and I've loved this one. This was one of the first that I found that I absolutely loved. It is a very densely pressed, wet looking, cool toned brown. It almost has like a touch of a purple to it as well. It goes on a little bit more sheerly though. And you can see it just has that really wet reflection. By the way, there are a lot of different formulas within the Sephora colorful eyeshadow formula. So if you want more details on that, you can check out my Sephora collection overview video. I talk about that in that video. And then I also have a dedicated video on these as well. But my other favorite, and one that I love so much, is Twinkle Twinkle. And what would you know? It's just a really beautiful, twinkly, wet, glossy top coat situation. Beautiful glitter, so thin. And again, that thin quality with eyeshadow, what is going to take you from a glittery shadow to something that gives you that really beautiful reflecting on water effect. And I just take it and I tap it right into the center of the lids and bam. It's absolutely beautiful, it is affordable, and I just feel like you can't go wrong. Now, another liquid eyeshadow formula that I wanted to mention is not a new one, the Ulta Matte Cream Shadows. I found these years ago and I just haven't been able to stop talking about them ever since. They're just a really beautiful base product. They're going to make an entire look last longer when you use them in the crease. But as a one and done for just like a matte, pretty look, these are also really nice. They have that really nice spreadability, and I think that that's why I like the About Face so much, is that I'm used to that kind of spreadability of the Ulta Matte Cream Shadows. That kind of soft blur, likes to blend onto the skin, likes to look smooth look, and these certainly have it. Affordable, beautiful. I wish there were more shades. I still, like, every time I talk about these, I talk about that, but they are still something super, super special. Another find that I talked about a lot this year were the Glistening Glows from Stila. Again, you guys know how much I talk about wet looking eyeshadows on my channel, and if you're looking for a wet looking eyeshadow in a liquid form, this is also a beautiful exhibit. Instance? I don't know what I'm saying. It has this really nice translucence that doesn't necessarily look choppy. I mean, go ahead, you can definitely like just wear a little bit of like even a matte powder shadow all over the lid and then add this on top. And it's just going to give you like this really wet, glossy effect all over the eyes. But on their own, they're also really beautiful. I love this and I love to recommend this one in specific because I know that there are some of you that don't want the fallout from a glitter shadow. One way to also avoid that is to use a base like something, you know, like the About Face or the Ulta Matte Cream Shadow. That's one way to avoid that, but you can also avoid that by using a product like this. It's obviously a liquid shadow, so there's no fallout involved. Kitten Kaleidoscope 2 as a shade is just such a beautiful, slightly peachy champagne. Get in there with a finger and just tap it on the eyes. This was definitely a launch I was excited about this year. Again, it's one of those products not a lot of people talk about either, but if you really like these kind of hidden gem products, I really do my due diligence on my channel to go out and find them. And I feel like Beige Mitza, the Sephora Collection eyeshadows, and Kitten Kaleidoscope, like those were kind of my hidden gems of the year. And they're just freaking so good, guys. Now, something that's definitely not much of a hidden gem anymore is Space Cowboy from Urban Decay. Now, I've been a fan of this for a long time on my channel. Now that this went viral over TikTok, I'm really excited to see if brands are going to continue down this kind of wet glossy looking topper trend. I would love to continue to do videos on them because I just love that effect so much. But you know, brands are always watching what products go viral. So I'm interested in seeing, you know, what they're going to do with this information. Not only do I love Space Cowboy, have consistently loved it and mentioned it a lot, so I'm not going to stick here too long, but it's just one of those products that goes well with any look. A beautiful topper to add just that little bit of glossy light reflection. If you just feel like your eye makeup, there's just missing something, that brightness, that kind of lived in look. This shade is just so beautiful to add that back. Lithium, though, is one of my favorite shadows ever. It's a beautiful smoky brown with that gorgeous wet glossy effect. Thinking back to the old Moondust shadows, there was also, you know, not all of the Moondust shadows have this finish. I think that's really important to note, but there was one called Diamond Dog, and it's pretty similar to Lithium. I would love for them to bring that one back. But anyway, that's just kind of a side note. Lithium is the perfect wet, glossy, smoky eye. Definitely one of my most used shadows of the year. As far as one and dones go too, because this has a little bit more depth to it, obviously, it works really well to add that definition. And the glossy glitters add that light reflection back. So really, it is pretty perfect. All right, a couple more shadows. Last year, I got really into like just an overall kind of pastel eye in more of like a mod structured shape. I just found that it looked really cool. I'm definitely going to keep playing around with those looks, but Mob Beauty, these cream eyeshadows are a great way to do it at an affordable price. They have beautiful shades. I have this really cool like seafoam green and then this gorgeous purple, but you can also mix them and get like the perfect robin egg blue. These have a really cool texture. They're called the cream clay shadows, and I think that that really makes sense because they feel kind of like clay in the finger. They go on and stick where you put them. They've got major pigment, but they also kind of set down. So if you're worried about your cream shadow kind of melting away or just being too creamy, these will give you the blendability of a cream shadow initially upon application, but then they kind of set down. So I think that a lot of you will appreciate them. Another brand I know not a lot of people talk about, but Mob Beauty and these cream shadows are freaking fantastic. Can't wait to play around with them even more this year. And lastly, we have the Hypnotic Pop Shots from Charlotte Tilbury, specifically in the shade Smoky Quartz, which when I initially bought four different shades, this was the one I was like, I think I'm gonna really love this one. And this one to me still is the best. Close second is Emerald Eyes. These are different than the other shades. I know that these are both out of stock, at least right now, but I hope that Charlotte Tilbury does bring them back in stock. They have more dimension, more wet looking glitter than the other shades, in my opinion. Running out of room on my hand. Smoky Quartz just has those really beautiful fine glitters that kind of create that wet reflection. Whereas look at like the rose gold one, it's pretty and it's a metallic rose gold, but it's not like a wet kind of reflection, which is, you know, typically my preference. Also, the shade is really beautiful. I mean, obviously I am partial to these cool toned bronzes. So obviously that checks that box for me. And then Emerald Eyes, oh my God, in the pan, like it's this beautiful emerald, but then it kind of goes a little bit blue. And this also is just absolutely stunning. These paired together are beautiful. I really hope that, you know, I know they are limited edition, but I hope that Charlotte Tilbury brings them back in restocks. Now, a couple more eye products. Mascara. I feel like Tower 28 just randomly came out with this mascara, not willy-nilly necessarily, but like they kind of blew everyone's makeup life up with this. Mascaras, do they get a lot of hype anymore? For me, they don't. You know, I'm not super excited to try a mascara, but holy crap, you guys. Lift, insane lift that lasts. Long wearing as well. I feel like there really is, I know it's not a tubing mascara, but for me, it does have that long wear quality that tubing mascaras have, but it's more lightweight, and I find that tubing mascaras can make my eyelashes droop, but no, I mean, this is like skyrocket, like lift. My lashes can look fake if I want them to. Like I can build, or I can do like 1 or 2 coats and it's just a really pretty fluttery look. I already have 2. It's hard for me to go out and recommend a mascara that's over $10, but I gotta tell you, I will continue to repurchase this. And right now, all of my other mascaras are kind of sitting and collecting dust right now. When I know I want my lashes to look long and volumized and really defined, and just have that kind of fanned out true framing effect, I go for this. I'm not really going for anything else. For liner. Now, I don't use this in my waterline, but I did use it today to kind of like frame out this look. The Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal Liner in the shade Cocoa. I need to try more shades of this. For me, it's just like the perfect smoky liner. It is so blendable and creamy. To me, it's like a super pigmented cream eyeshadow that just gives you more control. So if you are a fan like I am of just in general a smoky wing, you know, on an everyday or weekly basis, this to me is like the first product that I'm going to be reaching for now. I love it. I feel like it's just so easy and creamy, and it does feel super luxurious. I just find it blends easier overall than other liners I've tried. And also, I don't know where it is, not in front of me, the Sephora retractable liners were my other favorites. And the dark brown one for the waterline is my typical go-to. I did use the kind of dark green one on the waterline today, or I should say to tightline. I don't add any eyeliner to my waterline usually, but I do tightline, and those are always my go-tos for that. Another favorite from the Sephora collection. Now for brows, I've got a couple favorites. The Patrick Ta Major Brow Lamination Gel. It's like I've been using this since its release and I just can't get enough. I think this is still my first tube too, so it like really goes a long way. It's just that perfect pushed up brow effect. I love the wand because it has both long bristles and short bristles, so it does a good job of kind of defining every brow hair while also kind of pushing them up and back. It just is like grooming redefined. Just makes a fluffy brow look really easy, and if you are looking for specifically a clear brow gel that gives you a lot of hold while also making your brows as big looking as possible, you know, this is a really good idea. I don't like clear brow gels that kind of clump the brow hairs together. I really want that clear definition, and this does a beautiful, beautiful job of that. By the way, I have like a bottle of Latisse like sitting here at my house. I might start doing Latisse on my brows just to see what happens. I feel like, I mean, my eyebrows are obviously like filled in right now, but if I can get this without a brow pencil this year, could be something cool. I don't know, we'll see what happens with that. But 2 different brow pencils. The Precisely My Brow pencil from Benefit was definitely a home run for me. It just is really easy to get those brow-like hairs, ton of different colors to choose from, and also it's very sturdy. All of my brow products break in half, and this is just not gonna do that. Great spoolie as well, and long-lasting in the brows. My other favorite was the one from AOA. It's so cheap and affordable. I feel like, you know, not all AOA products are great, but that one really did stand the test of time for me. It's a great, dependable brow product. So shall we jump into lips? I definitely have a lot of lip products here. Let's first start with lipsticks. This is the lipstick I'm wearing today. It is Annie from Makeup by Mario. You know when you just find that color that just like brightens up your whole face? This to me is that color for me, so I always go back to it. But overall, as a formula, it just makes a blotted lip so easily. It's that more silicone blur kind of lipstick, but I feel like it's not overdone. It doesn't feel chalky. The shades are gorgeous. I want to try other shades. Gorgeous magnetic closure. It's just one of those products from Makeup by Mario that I always go back to for that really flattering, pretty lip color that leans more matte. I'm not someone that reaches for matte lip products a lot. I like more of a blotted lip, and this is a nice kind of matte blotted lip look. Now, another favorite that like I feel like everyone talked about, but like me included, the Merit Signature Lips. As far as that sheer satin lipstick, you just can't go wrong. They're so easy and effortless. As far as that kind of sheer lip look, that kind of blurry lip look, I mean, look no further. You can also get like a very clean line with these as well. But the shade selection, oh my God, don't even get me started on the shades. They're freaking fantastic, you guys. Beautiful, elegant shades. Off the top of my head, like my favorites are Tiger, 1990, and L'Avenue. Slip and Baby are like fan favorites as well. Merit really hit it out of the park with this formula. It reminds me of the Chanel hydrating lipsticks very closely. They just took the idea of a sheer lipstick and elevated it. The problem I have with a lot of sheer lipsticks is they tend to be very glossy and slippy on the lips, and this does not have that slippy texture. It has that grip to it while also being sheer, and that balance I think is what makes this really unique. And I really, really hope that Merit comes out with more shades this year because I will be like first in line. I really hope they really they go in on this formula, keep building it out. Because again, I just love the shades that they already have, and I feel like they do a really good job with shades. And I think there's also something really elegant about a sheer satin lipstick. You know, sometimes I don't want to go for something glossy, and I just feel like there's a kind of elegance to these. Now, a close second are the Bobbi Brown Crushed Liquid Lips. These are a little bit more sheer than the ones from Merit. The shade Cocoa and Telluride are like my favorites. Very, very beautiful. I like to think of these more so as like a more elegant formula than like the Generation Gs from Glossier. Like they're just a little bit more well done. These more like satin lipsticks are definitely my preference, but this was definitely the year where I solidified my absolute obsession with the e.l.f. glossy lip stains. These are freaking fantastic. Fantastic. They have a beautiful cushiony kind of gel formula, but they're not one of those lip stains that are completely translucent. They have a bit of a creaminess to them, very in line with like a lot of K-beauty lip stains, but you know, just more accessible for those of you that are in the United States. Absolutely stunning shades. Beautifully comfortable too. A lot of lip stains can be very drying. As someone with very chronically dry lips, just not what I'm going for. They hug the lips so beautifully. The applicator is that short paddle applicator, makes it a breeze to apply, and it holds a lot of product too, which I really like. Great, pretty, simple packaging from e.l.f. I can see like a brand like NARS coming out with the same formula and people paying a lot more for it. But you do not have to, because e.l.f. has got you covered. And for two glossy products, I loved a lot of gloss, but I felt like these were the two that really stood out to me. The Rowan Liquid Lip Balm in Charlie. I brought this back into my life and it's not going anywhere. It's still like one of the best liquid lip balm formulas I've ever tried. If you want that truly plushy look to your lips, that healthy look, that filled in look to your lips without it being an obnoxiously glossy look, which I'm not saying glossy is obnoxious, but it can be overpowering to an overall makeup look. This is a way to get you a really glossy, healthy looking lip look with this beautiful kind of glassy, stained glass effect. I really do feel like it's this kind of elevated elegance. I know that Rowan has come out with some shimmery shades and I have not tried them. Overall, I'm seeing very negative reviews on those, but the original three, Charlie, Remy, and one I can't remember off the top of my head, those original three, I have used all three and I love them all. But Charlie's definitely my favorite. Just this kind of rosy shade is what I always go for. And the NARS Afterglow lip glosses. It feels like a liquid lip balm mixed with a gloss, but it still has this really plushy look on the lips while being relatively thin as well. I was really surprised by the amount of shine and juiciness it gave the lips, like this really truly like healthy look that it gave to the lips while being relatively thin. I think there's something really special about these. Kaki introduced me to these this year and I'm very happy she did. I picked up this shade Aragon. God, is it pretty too. And I have the cool toned brown. Can't remember off the top of my head what shade that is, but obviously I'm going to leave everything I'm talking about down below. And lastly for liner, speaking of Kaki, the liner I'm also wearing today is the Kaki lip liner. If you're looking for that perfect contour, darker lip shade, it's more on the neutral side, look no further. Long wearing, creamy, great pigmentation. Overall, just a great one. And also, you know, you don't have to sharpen it, which is always nice. And then the e.l.f. Love Triangle Lip Filler Liner. I love this one because it is a triangle tip. It just makes for getting a straight line on the lips really easily, but you can angle it, you know, in a certain way that it kind of like fills in the lips as you're lining. So I find that it's just really easy and it like gives you a shape to your lips that's very uniform, which I really like. Because sometimes, you know, we have trouble with lining our lips. I feel like most lips are not even, you know, naturally in nature as we are born. And this just makes it really easy to kind of correct as well. A couple of lip products that I forgot to mention in my first take. Hot Chocolate from Fenty, the Fenty Heat. I already had fallen in love with this shade when it originally launched in the original Gloss Bomb formula, but I prefer the Heat shade even more because it has no sparkle and it's just the perfect cool toned brown with that touch of red. The shade is perfection, and not only that, it makes my lips look bigger, more plump. And sometimes I just want to go for that vibe. Again, I'm wearing it today. It has faded a bit, and the way it fades on the lips too, it just offers this little bit of edge. You guys know I really like cool tone makeup in general. Cool tone lips specifically have like my heart. I did do an entire video talking about a bunch of potential alternatives to this, so you don't necessarily need this. So check out that video if you would like to know more about that, but just know that I still think that this is freaking beautiful. Clinique Black Honey is also another product that this year I absolutely loved. I fell in love with it this fall. It's just the most romantic gloss. It has a really nice plushy kind of translucence to it. In general, I think the gloss formula is better than the original Black Honey almost lipstick. So if you are really interested in Black Honey as a shade, I highly, highly recommend checking out the gloss. I think it just looks so fresh and pretty on the lips. Again, it just has this really soft, romantic look to it. It's timeless in my opinion. And lastly, this lip liner from Sephora. It's in the shade The Nudist. One of you guys commented, thank you for that comment, and wanted me to try this because you were pretty fair and you find it's a perfect contour for your lips. Well, I can confirm that this works beautifully. It's a very light beige taupe, and I find that light beigey colors typically are like super peachy for some reason when it comes to liners, and I personally, I just don't think that that's very flattering for me. This, however, gives me the most realistic lip overlined look contour that I've been able to find. If I'm going to overline, I'm probably going to reach for this because it does look like such a natural shadow if you do have more fair skin. It's almost kind of undetectable when you put like a lipstick over it, but overall you notice it. And that is kind of the beauty about like some makeup products, like how stealthy they are, how at the end you just look and you're like, there's something different and there's something really perfected. I really love it because I feel like it offers me the opportunity to just take my makeup to the next level, just that little bit. I mean, look at this. I'm overlining now on the Cupid's bow specifically. Look at that. You see how for me, it's just the most realistic overlining situation that I've been able to find. Like, it doesn't look like you're overlining. You know, like how sometimes you overline and then you like look in the car mirror and you're like, whoa, it's not working. I never feel that when I use this liner. And honestly, I don't even know how it looks on camera. It could look terrible. But you guys are just gonna have to trust me on this one. And for setting mists, I have two here. One for a more dewy look and one for a more perfected look. So if I want to go perfected, I'll use the Professional Super Setter. To me, this is like a finishing powder in a bottle. It just smooths all of the fine lines, all of the little pores on your skin. It seriously is like wham bam, all of a sudden like all of the pores are refined. And it's kind of crazy, like if you test it out for yourself, but I just can't get enough of it. You really don't need a lot either. And I wouldn't recommend using a lot too because I'm pretty sure this is silicone based. A couple of sprays on your skin is like, whoa, so smooth. If you want to go dewy, this one from MAC, this is also something that Kaki showed me. It is their Magic Radiance. This is so perfect as even a prep product for all over the skin before makeup. It just adds that dew, that immediate hydration, melts everything in together. Just one that's very, very consistent. Not going to melt away the makeup either, which I feel like some dewy setting sprays, you just never know. I almost forgot to talk about brushes or tools, as we should say. So let's very quickly go ahead and talk about those. So first of all, for brushes, eye brushes in specific, two probably most used are from the Sephora collection, both the Pro 18, which is a dense pencil brush, or the Pro 15, which is more of a flat eyeshadow brush that you can kind of like pop up and use as a crease brush as well. But it's a little bit more on the flat side. Really, really easy brushes to use with cream eyeshadows. Dependable. I mean, I have so many of the Pro 18. I mean, this is definitely a favorite for cream eyeshadow for sure, especially because it allows me to get like really detailed and not all brushes can do that. And then as far as other brushes, any, like these are just a few I like pulled out, any of the brushes from BK. I have been impressed with every single brush that I have tried from BK, especially the eye brushes. The Angie Hot and Flashy brushes are freaking incredible. This concealer brush, the A506, blends out concealer like insanely well, and I'm like typically not a concealer brush person. So perfectly soft and fluffy, very high quality. But the eye brushes in that set are also beautiful. The angled cheek brush I use all of the time in that set to do my bronzer. I'm telling you, they do not mess around. The quality is pretty freaking incredible. I used the 201 today as a highlight brush. Even their smudge brush, I often avoid smudge brushes because I feel like they can be irritating on the eyes. They managed to make a smudge brush that is so soft that I can actually use it on my eyes. Yeah, I have just been impressed by every single brush that I've tried from BK, so I'm pretty pumped about their line. As for sponges, I have two sponges that look exactly the same. Both of these sponges are like my top sponges. They're both dirty right now because I just used them, but they're not from the same brand. So the bigger one, this one is from Sonia Kashuk. I find that it's a little bit more dense and obviously a little bit bigger. I do find it holds more water, so I have to be careful with that, but it is really accessible because I can just run into Target. You know, anytime I'm in Target, I can pick it up, but it's soft. It applies makeup so beautifully. I really highly recommend using this with cream products dry. I always talk about using a dry sponge with cream products, just gives you a really, really nice blend while maintaining that great pigmentation that your cream product might have. So highly suggest this one from Sonia Kashuk. And I also love this one from e.l.f. Specifically though, it's the Cookies and Dreams sponge from e.l.f. I do find that this one is better, plushier, softer, in general, just a better brush than the pink one. I'm sorry, better sponge than the pink one from e.l.f. So I highly suggest it. Whenever I place an order through their website, I always make sure to stock up on these because I don't see them in stores. So, but yeah, these are absolutely beautiful. Love the ones from Sonia Kashuk as well. And lastly, but certainly not least, I did retry out the Shiseido eyelash curler, and I still prefer the one from Kevyn Aucoin because the opening of the lash curler up at the top is bigger. Because my eyes are just a little bit more rounded, I find that I can get all of my lashes more easily with this one. Now, I do think that if you have more almond eyes, the shape of the Shiseido might be a little bit more natural and easy to work with. Very well constructed, and it's not going to hurt the eyes or the lashes, which is so important. And I'm telling you, if you're still not using an eyelash curler, I mean, I know so many people that don't use an eyelash curler still. You gotta get on it. Okay, it's like a one-time purchase. When you buy a really good one, you just replace the pads on here. It's going to last you, and it's going to really change the game with your eyelashes. And that, my friends, is all of the best makeup of 2022. Did I say Best of Beauty 2020 at the beginning of this video? If you are still here, if you appreciated the video, why don't you leave like a little sparkle emoji down below? That's like my favorite emoji, the sparkle emoji. But overall, thank you guys for journeying with me over the year of 2022. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Again, I will leave every product that I talked about down below for you guys, and I will see you guys in my next one.